TD Ryan Unleashed is brought to you by Scott Diamond, your State Farm insurance agent in DeKalb. Call 815-748-3101 or stop by at 2587 Sycamore Road, Suite D in DeKalb. Like a good neighbor, Scott Diamond and State Farm are there. Pizza Villa, pizza, pasta, sandwiches, and more at 824 West Lincoln Highway in DeKalb. Don't forget Kids Eat for Free on Thursday. For delivery or pickup, go to pizzavilla.com or call 815-758-8116. Elder Care Services of DeKalb. Safe, secure, and supported. Helping you stay in home where you want to be. Call 815-758-6550 or stop in at 1701 East Lincoln Highway in DeKalb or on the web at ecsdecalb.org. My Insurance Guy in Sycamore covers Medicare to auto care and everything in between. Stop by at 204 South Main Street in Sycamore. Call 815-899-0950 or online at myinsuranceguy.com. Welcome into TD Ryan Unleashed News Podcast number 53. Excited as always to be here. Filling in for Dan Lynch, the oak tree of the news department, more than making up for it. Former alderman here from DeKalb. It's a former second ward alderman, Bill Finucane. Bill, how you doing, my friend?
I'm doing great, TD, and thanks for having me in today. I appreciate it.
Of course, a lot of people know who you are with your time at on the city council, but also you worked at NAU for X number of years in the transportation department.
I worked in transportation at Northern for 38 years before I retired. It'll be 13 years of retirement at the end of this month.
And let's talk electric cars, because you were very instrumental in making that happen over there at Northern, weren't you?
Well, we had it was more hybrids than electric when I was
hybrids,
there.
okay.
Yeah, but at the peak, we had about 45 hybrids on campus. A lot of people liked driving them, some didn't. But we had them in a number of uses. In fact, at one time, we were even using them as police squad cars.
Is that right?
It was, and it was funny because we got some national notoriety out of that. I got interviewed from New York to Alaska over those. So
that's great.
Yep.
All right, we're going to talk to you some more about that, but we want to remind the people we're going to be looking at the news, and then we're also going to be talking about biking for Beanzie. It's the biking for Beanzie coming up on July 12th. That's a Sunday. You can ride 21 miles, 43 miles, or 63 miles. Join us in their 27th ride, and we're going to learn more about that. And there's a really cool-looking jersey that you can get, too. We'll tell you about that coming up here. We'll tell you how you can join that, the origin of Beanzie. Matter of fact, the name comes from now. This is from AI, Bill, so I want to make sure it's all correct, because a lot of stuff I get from AI lately is not correct. But according to this, Beanzie's origin, the name comes from the Kiwanis member Ken Beanzie Tony, who was given the nickname Beanzie in his youth by his aunt because he was a hyperactive kid who constantly jumped around like a jumping bean. Is that correct as far as you know, Bill?
That is fairly correct. Other than his real name is actually Tony Exidus.
I thought it was Exidus.
Yeah.
What do they see? So what's wrong already?
But no, that is a story, and it occurred. There were four of us that rode bikes every Sunday morning, and we started talking about having a bike ride for Kiwanis, and what are we going to name it? So one morning we're talking about what were nicknames growing up. And Tony did not want to share. Now, I'll share mine right now. It was Fig Newton.
All right.
You know,
I was a little Ryan. I was a little Rye.
So then, of course, the other two, Marv Fogel and Jay Schneider, couldn't let it go, and they had to dig and found out that it was Beanzie. So then as we start talking about what are we going to call the ride, somebody must have thrown out, well, biking with Beanzie. It's so nice and literal. And,
right.
And here we are, 27 years later, it's stuck.
Now, he's wearing one of those beanie hats that Beanie and Cecil used to wear with a little spinner on top. Where did that come from?
Well, I think that's probably where it came from, was with Cecil, with the dragon. So, yeah.
Now, we'll talk about this more, but when you started, how many riders did you have initially? Do you remember how many?
The very first year we had around 175 riders, which was pretty good for a first-year event. Over the years, we've been as high as a little bit over 700. The last couple of years, between weather and a couple other things, it's dropped off into 250 to 300.
Okay.
And actually, I will share that this year, we've cut out the two longest segments of the ride just because we weren't getting a lot of riders on that, and with the extra manpower and all that, it made it difficult to keep those up.
I ride my bike more than I used to, and I go about maybe 9-10 miles. I go around Rotary Park over there. And I was watching the news the other night, a guy who rode Route 66, I don't know if you saw that, same age as I am, 66 years old. He was averaging 200 miles a day. I was excited. My odometer just went over 200 from all this summer, all this year so far. And I was excited to go over 200, and I watched the news story. This guy was averaging 200 miles a day.
I can't even imagine that, but, think about the training he must have done going into that.
Yeah.
And if he's doing 200 miles a day, that's like, the great ride across Iowa. They do about 80 to 100 miles a day, and I can't even imagine doing that.
No, it's crazy. So God bless him for doing that. Again, the event is known for its quirky roadside markers, humorous signs, and fully paved routes with varying distances. Tell us about those quirky roadside markers.
Well,
I've seen some of the humorous signs as well, too.
Well, and that's just it. It started out the very first year. We did a lot of puns and different things. Played off the nickname of Beanzie. How was his bicycle powered? It was gas powered. Things like that. Early on in the ride, we had a couple of guys who got a big kick out of using roadkill as marker signs. They would paint the arrows over the top of the roadkill. And, we've gotten away from that. But it still does live in the Beanzie lore, as you will. We've continued to do updated signs. A couple of years ago, we made up a lot of new signs that were all based off old movie posters.
Oh, very good.
But injected Beanzie into it somehow, like 3 Men and a Beanzie.
3 Men and a Beanzie.
So
now,
things
you've
like
written
that.
businesses like that. A little sign would really mean a lot to you, doesn't it? Even if it just makes you chuckle as you're riding along, right?
That's what it is. And, we have those at every turn. And sometimes along the long straightaways, we have things like that. And, there's a number of rest stops along the route so people can get hydration, they can get some snacks, be powered up to go for the next segment. We've been fortunate to have a very good working relationship with John and Mac Orchard, who has let us use their front porch for a number of years and their rest facilities to make a rest stop there. And so it's been really welcomed. They've done a great job in helping us.
All right, we'll get into more detail about biking with Beanzie, but it's coming up here again on July 12th. And to register, it's real simple. Bill, how do we do that? Just
you can go online to kishkiwanis.org, and then underneath there'll be a link to Beanzie Ride. We're also on Facebook, just Beanzie Ride.
Okay.
And that'll also get you in there. And then around town, there are some places with our posters and tear-off registration forms.
Great. So we'll talk about this more, but let's take a look at the news. The news being brought to you by your friends at the Junction Eating Place in DeKalb. They've been serving wonderful food since 1969. Signature touches like potbelly stove and a model train dining room in DeKalb. Call ahead if you like, 758-5441. Again, that's 815-758-5441. Or stop in at 816 West Lincoln Highway in DeKalb. And then don't forget also Takis to Go DeKalb. Again, whether you're looking for a large group or a smaller group to cater, they offer 24/7-hour catering services for individual orders. They generally require a minimum people of 6 and at least 1 day's notice. Go to TakisToGoDeKalb.com. That's Takis, TakisToGoDeKalb.com. Yeah, I just recently had him and John Finn, who's going to be featured on the National Restaurant Show. Between them, 130 years between the Junction and the Pizza Villa.
I know.
That's a lot of food.
That is, and my daughter was in class with CJ, who's now running the place.
Yeah.
All from kindergarten all the way through high school. And, Finucane and Finn, they sat next to each other, obviously, all through grade school.
Yeah.
So.
John talked about not necessarily wanting CJ to do it. It's always my favorite question is nature versus nurture. Would you do what you did if your father didn't do what he did? But he said he tried to talk CJ out of it. CJ went and did something else for a while, but he's come back now and he's going to run the place there.
He is, yes. And it's every night when you go in there, either John's there or CJ's there. They're always one of the family is always there.
You got to love that. Yeah. So kudos to them. Thank them for sponsoring our show. We appreciate that. Now, you're a former alderman, so you'll appreciate some of this language. DeKalb panels offer initial support for Project Big Lakes that could bring 100 to 300 jobs. DeKalb City Council will give development consideration coming up this Monday, June 22nd, at the regular meeting. Now, obviously, tell them what the reason is. They don't use the name of the company, right? Because
because of the competition, there may be other cities that are trying to get them, and by having it as a facade, so to speak, it helps the city make better deals.
So it's nothing secretive to call it.
No, it's just like early on when I was on council, we had the Black Bear project come in, and that turned out to be 3M coming in.
Okay.
So and it just helps out in the long run.
Who comes up with these names? Where are the Black Bear?
It most likely comes from the company itself or the agent.
Okay.
You never know. I mean, in hindsight, yeah, Black Bear, I get that now. 3M out of Minnesota.
Right.
But there's other ones that have come in and used a different facade, and you don't know until it actually happens.
Okay. So this is a lot of space we're talking about, Bill. If approved, will consist of a 186,000 square foot building for a larger manufacturing of climate-controlled and energy management systems, and another 185,000 square foot building reserved for potential expansion according to the site plan. So that's a pretty big area there.
Oh, it is, and we've been so fortunate with all the development south of 88 here in town, and we've been able to annex that. And I'd hate to think where property taxes on the homeowner would be without all those things. You know, people
Right.
complain about the property tax. You know,
All
but
we have to do is look at Sycamore, right? And we can see Sycamore stuff. We had Marvin Barnes, the alderman here, and talking about how the people are responsible for paying for the schools and everything because they don't have the manufacturing.
well, and that's part of it too. And you know, like I said, we've been fortunate. We've been able to drive the property tax rate down. Now, your taxes may have gone up because your house value has gone up.
We had the mayor
but-
explaining that here.
And
2
it
weeks
would
ago.
be a lot worse if we didn't have all that new development over the last 12 years out on the south side.
So in your mind right now, no such thing as too much development? Because like I said, it's been Amazon and Meta and oh my gosh, now another
Well,
data
you know
center.
what? It's turning what was farmland and not even in the city, and now bringing it into the city and having this great leap in EAV.
Yeah.
And it just it's helped the city quite a bit.
It really has. There's no arguing about how much it's helped the city. But we've had some people here with a group, the React group, I believe it's called, but they're upset about the data center and how it was handled, and we're going to talk to them some more in the future. But as of right now, as far as you know, it's a go, right? It's
You know, if city council passes it this coming Monday night, it'll happen.
okay.
You know, and when we did the data center, I was still on council with the first one. There weren't the big concerns about water, but we went through all that and said, all right, how is this going to impact our water, what the infrastructure needs to be, et cetera? How's it going to impact the rates, everything? And while there have been some minor rate increases in the water across the city of DeKalb, we're not hearing about it like they are in some of the suburbs where they're talking about it. You know, there's that big pushback over in Aurora on the data centers over there.
Well, Joliet had voted against it, then they voted for it. I don't know where they're at right now, but I know that was a big issue there in Joliet. And then I know, is it Buffalo Grove? They've won the size of Central Park. They built one that big.
It could be. And, you know,
Or Yorkville,
yes,
that is.
they do use some water, but like the second one that came in here, they were talking about not using water,
Yeah, gas cooled.
gas cooled. And so, you know, if that can become the trend, I think a lot of that pushback will go away.
Well, Mayor Barnes made a great point, which I didn't think about. When NIU, back when they were at full capacity, they used well over the 500,000 gallons a day that they're allowed for the Meta Center. I never really thought about
Definitely, you know, when you have 10,000 less people on campus,
that. Yeah.
you know, whether they're in the residence halls or just in and out as commuters, it's still a lot of water
It's
usage.
a lot of water. Yeah. All right. So we'll see how that plays out now. The manufacturing facility they're looking to operate by next year. City planner Dan Olson said the company would like to get up and running by July 2027. Developers are looking to build on 2 lots totaling 47 acres at the northwest corner of Fairview and Macomb Drive in the Park 88 subdivision. So we'll see how that plays out. And of course, in the vicinity of the proposed project are existing warehouses, 3M you mentioned, and Target. So that's the first thing I wrote down, Bill, was truck traffic. This is even more truck traffic now, right?
Oh, yeah, well, yes, it is, but you got to remember there's not a lot of residential traffic out there because that is just an industrial park. You know, there were a few homes out along Fairview out there where some of those warehouses are, but they were all bought up and torn down, and that's gone. So unless you're going to and from the tollway along Fairview, you really won't see much of that truck traffic because a lot of it will just
go
get
right-
on or off the tollway and come right in and go back out. There's not a lot of it going through town.
Or
Now-
stop at our new truck stop, right? on the
Well,
way
and that
to-
was going to be the other thing I wanted to mention. You know, that new truck stop, not only will that help with EAV, but all that motor fuel tax that'll come to the city out of there. And with the, you know, I don't think it's going to be as large as a Buc-ee's per se, but, you know, that'll have a good-sized convenience store. So there'll be a lot of sales tax come out of that area.
Yeah, that's a good point. And a lot of money from people that don't live in DeKalb.
That's right.
That's pretty cool. There's other objections. A petitioner was submitted. Now I should point out this because when we talk about the Meta Center, I was talking to the people from this other group. There's federal standards and then there's state standards. So, for instance, they had to submit an engineering plan and a landscape plan and a recording of the first plate. Maybe you can tell us what that is, Bill. But obviously, they have to meet these requirements, right?
Well, they do. And, you know, and that's part of why they go before zoning before they come to city council
To work out those.
to work out some of those things and work with the, hopefully the most of it's been worked out with the city planner before they even get to that point. Because the city does have, you know, it's the unified community ordinance that here's our standards, here's where we want you to fit in. And it does include, like you just mentioned, landscaping, everything like that. You know, even a smaller s'mores coming into town, they have to have certain landscaping requirements, so many trees, what has to be screened, what can be visible from the road, what's mandatory to be visible.
And of course, parking. God forbid we leave
Oh,
out the
yes,
parking.
got to have the parking,
People in
you
DeKalb
know?
are obsessed with parking.
Yeah.
The Planning and Zoning Commission unanimously backed the petition and awarded 4-0 vote. the city council will get the final say on the matter during Monday night's meeting. So we'll keep up on that. This is what I was telling you, though. Pizza Villa, I don't know, America's Best Restaurants. I'm not familiar with that, but it's a national program that will host an on-site visit from the national media and marketing company America's Best Restaurants as part of the ABR Roadshow. The visit will take place on July 1st at Pizza Villa, 824 West Lincoln Highway in DeKalb. The visit will highlight the featured interview with Pizza Villa's owner, Chef C.J. Finn. So they just kind of phased John
Yep.
about his restaurant's place in the community. America's Best Restaurant spots like locally owned restaurants from across the country that make a positive community impact. And that's something they've done, Bill, and you've seen that firsthand, how much Pizza Villa has meant to this community.
Well, it has. You know, John's always been one. John and CJ, the Finn family, have always been one who stepped up with voluntary donations, support in the community. I know firsthand, you know, when their kids were at St. Mary's in DeKalb, how much they supported out there. You and I both know how much they've supported Let's Talk Turkey, Freezing for Food, even to the point where John would bring you a pizza.
Yes.
So, but they've been there. They've, you know, supported Little League throughout the years, and just they're a big segment of community. And you know, they've been here for more than 60 years.
Yeah, 1968 they started, established by Larry, Joe, and Don Finn. They moved to their current location in 1970. As you mentioned, they donate food to homeless shelters, support churches, sports teams, and local schools. I remember when we had that fire recently on Lincoln Highway, John was the first one to send pizzas out for not only the people that live there, but the firefighters as well.
Yeah, he has. And that's what I'm saying. They're a great family. We've been fortunate personally to know them since our kids were in kindergarten together.
And we should point out the episode will air at America's Best Restaurants website and social media channel at a later date. The APR Roadside episode premiere date will also be announced on the restaurant's Facebook page. So be looking for that. But congratulations to our friends there at Pizza Villa. Now, you guys, again, we're talking about Biking for Beanzie as well. Now, as part of Biking for Beanzie celebrating America's 250th anniversary, along with others in DeKalb County, the jersey that may be purchased during registration has a patch. Well, explain this if you can, because obviously we're doing this audio-wise, but it's just a beautiful, you got the Biking with Beanzie. Well, first of all, it's a biking shirt, right?
Right, it is. It's a jersey meant to be worn while you're biking.
Okay.
Though I do see people wearing them around town occasionally.
I do too. But this is a nice quality garment.
It is, and this is our second go-round with this. We did it the first time for our 20th anniversary ride, so it's been updated a little bit. And as you mentioned, they're doing the 250th anniversary. You know, there's a lot that is going on. Beanzie, of course, is right within that window of all the celebration, right there on the July 12th on that Sunday, just a week after the 4th, a couple days after the big city or county celebration at the Cornhouse. So, you know, it's a great way to do it. Yeah, we hope to make a little bit of money off it. We don't know how much it'll be. Shirts had to be pre-ordered, though. And I don't know.
Oh, they did. Okay.
Yeah, they had to be pre-ordered. Special Airwood payment were earlier this month. So.
Oh, sure. I should have read that quicker.
Yeah,
okay.
That's okay. But no, it is one of the things that we've tried to do to make the ride a little more attractive. There's a number of teams that have jerseys, and like I said, it works out well.
Well, I'm sure if you get enough demand, that you could have a second printing or whatever, you know what they call that.
Right.
Shirt.
Yeah,
So
you could.
you could do that again. Then walk-up day of registration. You can do that with cash, check, or credit.
Yep. So let's talk about that. If you sign up before July 1, the cost is $35. But if you walk up on day of ride or after July 1, it's $50.
Okay.
So, you know, there's some benefit to signing up early. You know, it's usually about 40% sign up early, and the rest of them are the other 60% are day of ride, because there's just people who don't want to put their money up until they know what the weather's going to
Right.
be
Well,
like.
and the weekend, too. They have weekend plans. They want to make sure that they have that day clear. So
Yeah.
you don't mind them waiting till later, or they'd rather you do it earlier. Now, all riders must be out by 10 a.m. All riders must be finished to ride at the DeKalb Sports and Recreation Center, same place as the start, by 3:30 p.m., right? Because you can't have people out on the trail.
No, I mean,
afterwards.
we let people go out as early as 6:30 in the morning. And you know, particularly now that we're not going to be doing the 100-mile loop, that we anticipate we won't have the issues where people bit off more than they can chew.
Sure.
We've had that happen where, you know, riders are out there in the 100 and they had no business being out there, but they're struggling and wanting to try and get in. And we offer them, you know, ride in, but no, they want to keep going. And we've been there as late as 6 o'clock. So
Pride goeth before the fall. We know that, yes.
So, you know, and different things have happened over the years. There's one time we're waiting on one person to come in, and he finally calls, and he says, I think I missed the turn. All right, well, give me an idea what you're looking at. And it turned out he was up at 1st Street and Route 72 in Kirkland. Stay there.
What do
We'll
you
come
see?
and get you.
I see corn. I see corn. That's not going to help us any. All right, you got the maps yet, but they're what says not yet available. I'm sure they're available now, right?
They will be out online soon. But actually, if you've ridden our ride before, it's the same. The 3 rides, the 3 routes are the same as they were last year.
And it says, who are you supporting? A Biking with Beanzie fundraisers recreational ride presented by the Kiwanis Club of Kishwaukee, DeKalb, and sponsored by numerous donors. As a Beanzie rider, you will be investing in our community. BWB is self-paced event that promises fitness and family fun. It's not a race, all right? So you want to make that clear.
It's not a race. There's nobody timing. There's no timing devices. It's all, if you want to time yourself, that's up to you. We talk about what we do with the funds, though. So over the years, a lot of the funds have gone into the support of the Kishwaukee Kiwanis Bike Trail.
Yes.
And that's really where a lot of it still goes, but we do use some of the funds for some of the other activities here in town that we support, different other non-for-profits and activities throughout town.
And from a practical manner, when we talk about Park 88 out there, you guys created a bike path to get people out there to work there.
Right.
Because I know we had people on Facebook saying, can I get a ride out there? I can have somebody lend me a bike because I work out there. And you said, let's get the bike path out there.
Yeah, and we did. And it's going to get extended again. Don't know the exact timeline. Right now it ends at Macomb Drive. But Macomb Drive, of course, has a path going that way as far as Peace Road. But it's supposed to get extended along Fairview out to Peace Road. So eventually you'll be able to ride your bike out to that big truck stop.
I'm excited. I'll get to go see that firsthand. We're going to talk some more about that because I want to ask you about the bike paths around DeKalb. But let's look some more news here. City of DeKalb begins a new Lincoln Highway mural. I can't count the number of people that have complained about Lincoln not having a beard or the Golden Gate Bridge. I don't know why people can't grasp the idea that we're talking about going from one end of the United States to the other. So obviously the Golden Gate Bridge is there at the one end. I don't know why they can't quite put that together, but really a neat mural here. The mural commemorates Lincoln Highway and the Declaration of Independence and President Lincoln. The project is part of America's 250 DeKalb initiative. The mural was selected by the City of DeKalb Citizens Community Enhancement Commission. The design features New York and San Francisco at murals at opposite end. The mural also celebrates Lincoln Highway's achievements of connecting the nation. The mural designed by Christian Sandin. Now, I know one of the things that people were upset about, Bill, was that the fact that this artist, I believe, is not from DeKalb or even from Illinois. I think he's from Tennessee, I believe, that they came
I can't answer that part of the question, but I've noticed over the last 10 days, 2 weeks, that she is up there doing the project that really looks great.
Yeah.
And it's all by hand.
Yeah.
It's all by hand. I've seen her with spray cans. I've seen her now with a finer utensil. And it really looks great. I can't wait to see when it's finished.
It really does. Now, what surprises me is that the mural creation is expected to last a minimum of 2 weeks. I'm like, 2 weeks?
To create it, put it up on the wall.
Oh, the mural's creation is expected to last.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. The project is partially supported by the Illinois Arts Council grant. That was the other thing people were upset about, that it was taxpayers' dollars being used for this. But obviously they got grants for this. Community input also incorporated in the mural's final design. The input includes the City of DeKalb's historic arches, which I missed that, if they look closely, a 1913 Stebbins Durga automobile. The location's original mural was destroyed after, that was a really neat one. It was kind of a 3D one they had up there.
Mm-hmm.
But what are they talking about with DeKalb's with their, do you know what they're talking about there?
With the old arches that used to be in
DeKalb's
DeKalb?
historic arches, yeah. Because we used to have like a gateway into DeKalb, right? That's it. That's what I thought. Okay.
Yeah, right there. It'll be on the lower right-hand corner of the mural.
And where was that, the arch? Was it right at First Street? Or,
No, it was actually closer to by the lagoon.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, well, cool. So I think it's good. And then they obviously use Lincoln because it's a younger Lincoln that they wanted here, because Lincoln was younger when he lived here in Illinois. I think it's great, though. I think it's really fantastic. So,
and of
we're
course,
excited
there's
about
an
that.
old story about why Lincoln grew a beard, because the little girl told him he'd look better with it.
I remember that. That's right. That's it. I love that lore like that. And, of course, the weather, thing to tell you about the weather. Illinois is just 3 tornadoes away from breaking the all-time record, according to an article here in the Daily Chronicle. The National Weather Service said storms battered northern Illinois on Thursday produced 17 tornadoes, including an EF3 in Streeter that destroyed homes. The tornado was recorded in Dwight and in South Wilmington and Grundy and Livingston County, and an EF1 tornado caused property damage in Bartlett in DuPage County. The tornado destroying homes and damages many buildings and vehicles in Kankakee County back on March 10th. State climatologist Trent Ford said Illinois is closing on the record in 2024 with 142 tornadoes. The state sees an additional 3 tornadoes that will break the record, a number that's been seen for the third time in the last 4 years. as tornado season isn't over yet. I didn't realize tornado season is from April to the end of June, huh? So we're just coming up on the end of tornado season.
Right.
Here.
Though tornadoes can happen any time of the year. You may recall in November a couple of years ago there was one locally, and a little closer to home on the tornadoes last week. Kuipers over in Maple Park
Oh, I saw that.
lost a barn or lost a roof off of a barn and had some other damage around the property.
Have you ever been in one or close to one?
I have seen one at a distance. A friend of mine who lives down between Streeter and Long Point, down south of here, they were on their front porch and they could see two at the same time from where they were. Yeah,
Wow.
and they was off in the distance, a good mile, 2 miles away. But she said even just seeing that close, she was nervous.
I always wondered about the they say it sounds like a freight train.
That's what I've heard. The one I heard never touched down, or the one I saw was up in the sky. It never touched down, and it was local here, and just even seeing it.
Oh.
Now going back a little further, you may recall the.
And sorry about that audio difficulty. We're talking to Bill Finucane. We're talking about the latest tornadoes and how we can set a record with 3 more tornadoes here in Illinois. But enough of that talk. Let's take a look at the community calendar brought to you by Stagecoach Players Theater. Go to stagecoachplayers.com, find out all the information going on, or give them a call at 815-758-1940. Last week we had the director of SpongeBob the Musical was here. It starts June 18th, runs through the 28th there at the beautiful Stagecoach Theater, 126 South 5th Street in DeKalb. Our trivia question was, let's see if Bob knows, or see if Bill knows, SpongeBob's pet. Do you know what SpongeBob's pet name is?
Not a clue.
It was Gary the Snail.
Gary the Snail,
So
okay.
Congratulations to our trivia winners that won themselves.
It was
some
never
tickets.
one of the big ones for my kids. So
No, I missed the whole thing myself. I know. Things that are coming up this weekend include DeKalb Pride Fest. The 2026 DeKalb Pride Fest is 4 to 7 p.m. on Saturday, and the Van Buren Plaza on 2nd Street in downtown DeKalb. The free event includes a variety of vendors, food trucks, and more. Go to DeKalbPride.org to find out more. Fishing Derby. Now, where is Mason Lake, actually, Bill? I always go to Rotary Park all the time.
That is the one that's on Annie Glen Road just south of the tracks.
Oh, okay. So that's where the Fishing
Mason
Derby
Park, yes.
will be on this Saturday for starting at 8 a.m. Awards will be given to the longest, shortest, and most caught in adult and youth categories. The cost to enter is $5 for residents and $10 for non-residents. Now, I work for the Park District now, and I just help my boss get a bunch of fishing poles together. So if you don't have a fishing pole, don't worry about that. Just show up for the Fishing Derby there on Saturday. And movies in the Park and Sandwich. Bring the whole family for a screening of Zootopia at 8 p.m. on Friday at the Knights Park and Sandwich. Concessions that open at 7 o'clock. And what a great idea having these movies outside. We used to go to the Delavan. We lived in Delavan there in the summertime and went to the drive-in there in Lake Geneva. And that was the drive-in was so cool.
Oh, yeah.
In anticipation, playing in the playground before it got dark.
Yeah, and I remember going on the southwest side of Chicago to drive-in. I believe there's still a drive-in down in Earlville.
Is that right?
Yeah.
I said I'd like to do that again. And finally, the DeKalb Municipal Band concerts go on all year long. The DeKalb Municipal Band will perform a free concert on Tuesday, June 23rd at Hopkins Park D. Palmer Band Shell. This week's theme is Made in America. A lot of great music coming that way. And, speaking of late great Americans, boy, when you talk about D. Palmer, the man, the myth, the legend, that was the only person I would use those 3 words for. But D just lived the American dream. He always wanted to direct the band, and he did that, and he wouldn't put that baton down.
No, they literally had to wrench it out of his hands.
Yeah, I played golf when he was 98. We played 18 holes there at Sycamore.
And he probably beat you.
And he beat me. He did. I am not afraid to admit it. Just a tremendous individual, D. Palmer. He is missed dearly. And that's a look at the community calendar brought to you by your friends at Stagecoach Players Theater. Don't forget, we got other great stuff coming up. The Man Who Came to Dinner, the 1940s Radio Christmas Carol, and Dracula, just to name a few coming. They're very busy over there at the Stagecoach Players Theater. I was talking to another lady from a different, smaller theater venue in one of the other towns, and they put out a lot of shows.
They do.
Stagecoach does. Very little downtime in between shows, so kudos to them.
While we're talking about community events, why don't we talk about some of the America 250 events that are going to happen here?
Oh, here, what? I happen to have that. When I just because the library's done a lot. And
the library's doing a lot.
In my neighborhood there on 10th Street, they just planted a tree there by Little John Elementary School, part of the 250 trees that are being planted by the township. So
right.
That's
I know.
exciting.
That's great. And obviously the highlight of the whole time there will be the 4th of July celebration at Hopkins Park. They've done it for a number of years, starting at 5:30, and there's a run race earlier in the morning. But, they'll have food vendors, and then the highlight, of course, will be fireworks at approximately 9 o'clock. And it's just, with the band being there and everything, it's just a great show. and they promise this will be their biggest fireworks display ever.
That's quite a promise.
Yep. And then, of course, there is one more countywide event over at the courthouse on July 8th. It starts at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. There's free hot dogs and a number of events going on over there, too. So just a couple of things to look forward to over the next month, basically celebrating the great. Let's see, how do you call? The bicentennial was 200 years. I don't know what you call 250.
And I remember the sesquicentennial, but now I don't know what that's what it's called. But it's great that we can, because we really haven't been able to enjoy our birthday all that much this year with all the things going on around the world. But it's great to know we can just have a little slice of Americana like that. I'm working for the park district now, so last year I parked the cars there at the Hopkins Park, and what an atmosphere! What a great atmosphere! Everybody's in a fantastic mood, and just
yeah, it is. And the thing about the fireworks show, it can be seen so many areas around town. There's a lot of people that go into the park, but there's a lot of people that get in the parking lots along Sycamore Road and watch from there. Or the park.
We used to go to the cemetery across the way there and watch the cemetery.
The park out at on Glidden, or not Glidden, on Hillcrest, right by the river. People watch from there. We used to be able to watch it from right out in front until the trees got too tall. And, out on Buena Vista Golf Course, you can see it very well from there, too.
That's great. Yeah, so it should be just a fantastic night. And again, don't forget all that cool things going on here at the DeKalb Library. They've been doing it all year long. And they're coming up here just at the end of the month. They have the Roots of Southern Gothic Literature on June 25th for adults, and Story Times and Crafts Independence Day on June 30th there at 9 o'clock for the kids. And Conductor Cody, American Railways, will be here at 2 p.m. on the 27th for all ages, all aboard. Join Conductor Cody on a magical railway adventure through America's 250-year history. And, we saw that, Bill, when the big boy came through, and I saw all the people waiting there by the train tracks.
Well, and it wasn't just here in town that people were waiting. There were people
all along there. Yeah.
All along, out at Nelson Road. My wife and I went out to Airport Road and watched it there, figuring it wouldn't be quite as crowded. It was very crowded, even out there, out in the middle of nowhere. And it was just a great scene to see it come through. Unfortunately, we didn't get a stop here in DeKalb.
No.
They had one in Rochelle. They had one in West Chicago. But it was great just seeing it come through.
Well, and all the ages, I saw little kids and I saw older gentlemen just genuinely excited about the train coming through.
Yeah, they're not necessarily train buffs, but
no.
To see that from 80 years ago is just fantastic.
It really is. And did I do my This Date in History? No, I didn't. I do that with the birthday list. I'm forgetting what I'm doing here. Let's take a brief look at sports, but again, something you can relate to. We were just talking about the coach of the Sycamore softball team. Sycamore Bella Jacobs, Carrie Lance earned the ICA First Team All-State recognition. Bella, boy, she's just a heck of a pitcher. I mean, she was, since her freshman year, she's been dominating. Sycamore senior pitcher Bella Jacobs and senior catcher Carrie Lance were Illinois Coaches Association All-State First Team Class 3A softball selections announced earlier this week. Junior teammate Addie Armstrong was the third-team selection as well. But you want to mention Jill Carpenter?
Well, I do. Jill's been around DeKalb NIU for a very long time. She played softball in NIU. And it's kind of ironic in a way that she got her 400th career win as a coach playing DeKalb at NIU.
Oh, is that right?
It was. So, congrats to Coach Carpenter and her team to, that means she's been there a while, but that's still a lot of wins to get in a coaching career.
And a state championship.
And a state championship 2019. This was her second or third conference title. And she's just done a great job with the program and the student athletes. And to see the support for her that she gets from throughout the Sycamore community has just been fantastic.
Well, even more important than what she's done on the field is what she's done off the field, because I know she has the girls volunteering at the food bank. She helps you guys out at the Salvation Army. I mean, and I see the kids, I'm sure the girls were a little reluctant at first, but they really seem to embrace it once they start doing it.
They do. And, particularly when they come down to the Salvation Army Food Pantry and help us sort everything that you and I collect at Freezing for Food.
Yeah.
They spend several hours down there and we get a lot done. And the camaraderie with the team is really great. And if you've ever seen them play, you need to get out next spring and see them play. They're doing really well. And, she's at the point with her team, it's not rebuilding, it's reloading.
I know, it is. She has established that program like that. The best thing I like, because I used to do the baseball games, the boys' baseball games and the girls' softball games, and completely different animals. The boys are a little more serious, a little, rub some dirt on it. The girls are dancing in between innings. They're high-fiving each other. What I saw at the end of one game was they high-fived the referee. They went over the umpire. They went over and high-fived the umpire. It was like it's just so refreshing to watch that. Just having so much fun and playing ball.
It is, and it isn't, that part of it isn't just at Sycamore. You see it at any high school that you have you watched high school softball at all.
Well, I want to mention DeKalb girls. DeKalb girls sophomore Elena Johnson was third-team selection in 4A. Genoa Kingston senior infielder Lizzie Davis, I think she's set the home run record there, earned a spot on the 2A second team with her junior catcher, Aria Rich, was on the third team as well. So, again, we got some great softball players in this area.
We do, and, Caitlin had a good season, too. Let's not leave them out. They're
That's
local.
Right. I still, I'm always a fan. I covered DeKalb and Sycamore, so I never really covered Caitlin.
Oh, I understand. I
still consider them the enemy. I shouldn't, though. But
yeah, well, you understand when Sycamore plays Caitlin, it's not very friendly.
No. Now, we're talking about biking for Beanzie. We're going to finish up doing that here in a minute. But I want to talk about just the bike routes in DeKalb in general. I know this is something near and dear to you. And also there's Live Healthy DeKalb County helping to do this. But the idea is to essentially kind of connect everything in DeKalb, right, via bike routes.
Well, not just in the city. It actually, the bike routes are set up so that you could ride on the Kishwaukee-Kiwanis bike trail. If you wanted to start at Lions Park, you could stay on the bike path all the way to where it hits the Great Western Trail over at the northeast corner of Sycamore and ride that all the way into the suburbs.
Really?
So you could literally, without riding on city streets or county roads, go that far.
Okay.
I mean, they're throughout, the original part of the Kishwaukee bike path was on campus. Right along the river. That's where it started. That was the first link.
Is that right?
Then it went to the south, and then it grew to the north to where it went along the river to where it comes out of Hopkins Park and then goes from there.
And then we had the underpass on First Street. A lot of people were complaining about that, but boy, what a sweet setup now.
Well, not only on First Street, but the one on Lincoln Highway, too, that was there first.
Oh, that's right.
Where now they go underneath, and it's made it so much safer. Unfortunately, there's still too many bike accidents around town and out in the suburbs and the city and what have you, but those things make it a lot safer in the long run.
Yeah, very, very well put. And now let's take a look at the obits. Again, we used to, on the radio station, you have to pay to do the obits, so we like to include them here on our weekly news podcast. So many wonderful people that live in the area. Burrell T. Smith.
Burrell. He was in Kiwanis.
All right. Born in 1931 in Imboden, Arkansas. How about a little local tie-in? Imboden, Arkansas. He moved to DeKalb at the age 18, where he met his cherished wife, Ruth Miller. They raised their daughter, Jenny. He was proud to own his own company,
Burrell's Electric.
All right, electric service, which is highly respected local business. He and Ruth, generous hearts, expanded to take in their bonus daughter, Julie, and then a college student who lived with them and remained a treasured part of their lives. They used to do that, didn't they? Was it the baseball teams, or would they have people staying at their homes there with the?
A lot of the minor league teams did. I don't know if they still do, but that did happen. And even here, if you go back far enough at NIU, before they had enough residence hall space, that would happen here.
I thought so. Okay.
The people. In fact, actually, for a while, my wife and I had, at one time or another, a couple of athletes live in our basement. So
is that right?
Yeah.
I love that. Burley, the Hearts Open, member of the First United Methodist Church of DeKalb for 75 years. He was elected to DeKalb County Board and served as its chair. He devoted many years as a member and chair of various community boards, including the DeKalb Community Public Building Commission, the Ben Gordon Mental Health Center, the DeKalb Area Retirement Center, Oakcrest, was active with the Kishwaukee-Kiwanis Club, and enjoyed Northern Illinois University Husky Booster Club as well. In sports, if a ball and score were involved, he'd play and develop many lifelong friendships. His closet often conglomeration of uniform shirts collected over the years. So he sounded like a really great guy.
He was. He was a really great guy, very active in our Kiwanis Club, took the lead on a number of projects. And unfortunately, he's been sick the last 5 or 6 years and had to withdraw from the club. But the club still really enjoyed and reached out to him and took care. He remarried Sherry, and they've had a good life together, too.
That's great. That's great that you guys support each other in a club like that. And, I just turned 66 a couple of months ago, and I see names like this where Mark Shipman, age 68 of Sycamore, passed. Mark is survived by his best friend and wife, Mary Shipman. Mark graduated DeKalb High School in 1976 before turning to a life of adventure, whether it was with combined 9 years at the Shipman Standard. Now, do you know what Shipman Standard was?
It was at First and Hillcrest, right there where the Circle K is now in the northeast corner.
And what was it? What is it?
It was a Standard Oil station.
It was? Okay,
Yeah,
Shipman Standard, okay.
And then it was, at that point, they still had the little in-service bays there, too.
He worked with his father, Bloop?
Yep.
There?
Bloop. I knew Bloop.
I love that. How would you forget a guy named Bloop? His years in the years he served on hundreds of racetracks, he learned like the back of his hand. So he was a racer, do you know, or he worked on the engines with the cars?
He worked on the engines, for
Okay.
a long time. He worked after they closed the service station part. He worked out at Brad Manning Ford.
Is that right? He said 38 years with Ford. He accepted his challenge no matter what. He held his hand high. He was a 765 Elk Club life member like his father before him. He volunteered with the Boy Scouts for more than 25 years and was a positive role model to so many throughout his lifetime. So who wouldn't love to have that said about them at their funeral?
You know, that's all you can hope for.
That's
is
all you
that
can hope for, really.
That you've helped somebody else out.
And Wilson Keys, this one's very interesting. Again, Wilson Keys, only 68 of DeKalb, married Kathy Marlowe back in 2018. Wilson was a professional caddy and for many years worked at many different golf clubs across the country. Boy, would he be interesting to talk to. He collected diving watches, enjoyed bicycle riding, and oil painting. You may have seen him sipping a Pepsi and smoking a Lucky Strike. Boy, talk about data. You know, when they read that, I can see the Pepsi and I can see the Lucky Strike, the package. But what a great guy. And being a professional caddy, just would love to talk to him. Had a chance to talk to him about that. Yep. But again, we sadly have lost him. So another great person lost there. But, it's when you read these obituaries, Bill, that you realize you meet people, and they never tell you. There was one last week, a lady lived a year in Ghana. That, unless you asked her specifically, did you live a year in Ghana at some point in your life? And she did, but you don't know these things.
You don't. And it is, even if you know people a long time, you don't truly know their whole backstory.
No. There's always a little something else, another little turn there. And finally, let's take a look at the birthday list. The birthday list brought to you by your friends at the DeKalb County History Center. Go to DeKalbCountyHistory.org to find out all the cool stuff that's going on there. And they always got cool stuff going on. Birthdays, we want to include Michael Stockel of Cortland will have a birthday on the 21st. Jim and Amber Steeling of DeKalb will have their 18th anniversary on the 21st. And Harlan Birdstrup, how's that for a great name? Harlan Birdstrup of DeKalb will have a birthday on the 22nd of June. Now, our friends at the DeKalb County History Center are kind enough to send me my own personal This Date in History, different than the one you see in the midweek. In this state, Northern Illinois State School, now at NIU, held its first commencement on June 21st, 1900. 15 students made the first graduating class, representing 9 Illinois counties and 1 foreign state. Boy, we were a melting pot even back then, huh? Pennsylvania, this graduation also created the Alumni Association. General John Stark, chapter of the General John Stark chapter of Daughters of American Revolution was organized on this date on June 22nd, 1907, with 30 members. A charter was granted on October 22nd, 1907. There are 2 real Daughters of Revolution soldiers buried in DeKalb County. In 1928, the chapter marked the bronze tablet, the grave of Linda Young Stewart in North Kingston Cemetery, and that of Sarah Bacon Wood in the Sycamore Elmwood Cemetery. Now, I just interviewed a young lady, a spelling bee champion from Woodstock. She's 2-time DeKalb County spelling bee champion and just competed at the Scripps National Champion in Washington. But she is also a daughter of the American Revolution. Now, do you know about this? I guess if you had one member of your family that was in the Revolution, you become a daughter of the Revolution or the son of the Revolution.
Correct. Yeah, and it's interesting, when you can trace your lineage like that.
Yeah, do you know how far back you go? So when the Finucanes get over here?
Before the Civil War, before the Civil War, I know that like the house I grew up in Chicago was built by Finucanes, been in the family ever since. It was built between the Civil War and Chicago Fire.
Is that right?
Yep.
Cool. And then finally, we have one more that's a little more current. And that is the bicentennial. We were talking about the bicentennial year. The bicentennial band concert performed by the DeKalb Municipal Band filled the air at Hopkins Park in DeKalb with music and fireworks to celebrate the 200th year of our independence. The event was attended by hundreds of persons who oohed and ahed at the firework display. So there you have it, back in 1976. All I remember is the big ships. I can remember the big ships coming into.
The tall ships, yeah.
Yeah, the tall ships there.
Yep.
We went
How
down.
did you spend the bicentennial day?
Oh, I
Do
was
you
I was
recall?
16, and so I didn't fully appreciate it. I wish I could have done it.
I got to do something cool. My college roommate lived in a small town, Long Point, down south of Streeter. And we actually spent the day down there, July 4th. And, they did all these little old traditional things, tractor pull, but it wasn't big tractor. It was garden tractor pull. And just
Every
different-
kind of shrunk down. I like
yeah,
that.
just all this little cool small town stuff. And I didn't know till I got down there that his father did the city fireworks.
Oh, really?
And so my roommate and I are out there helping, loading everything up and shooting off the fireworks that night. And
Wow.
just, every kid at that time, wanted to shoot off fireworks.
Right.
Well,
You got the ultimate there.
yeah. But no, I don't think I'd want to do that today.
Well, Bill, it's been a pleasure. Maybe you can make this a monthly or at least a bi-monthly visit with us here. Because like you have so much knowledge. When I brought up some stuff there, I knew that you would know that stuff, and you did. You knew all this stuff.
Hey, let me talk real quick about a
Please,
couple
right.
and you sport things. Baseball, first time in 54 years they made the NCAA tournament, actually won a game, beat last year's runner-up. Unfortunately, they lost their next two games, but they made the tournament. New men's basketball coach, he's come in. I've heard him a couple times. He's very excited. All the players that were here last year are gone, so it'll be
Is that right?
Be a completely new team. He's got a great coaching staff set up. One coach came with him down from northern Michigan. A couple of his players came with him also. He spoke at Kiwanis this week, and he's real excited about what's coming ahead. Heard the women's basketball coach talk, and she's really excited about what's coming up too. Football moves into the Mountain West, and there are a lot of people over the last 20 years who complained about midweek games. No midweek games this year.
Is that right?
DeKalb.
Okay.
Every home game's on a Saturday. So, a lot of people will be very pleased with that. It'll be something completely different. Some teams that have never been in here before, or that maybe they've been in here once or twice.
And another reason to root locally, you should have it anyway, but our very own Cole Latimer started the DeKalb baseball and football team. He will be playing football and baseball at NIU. Which
yeah, that's right.
Really
That's what I
impressed
understand.
again. Yeah.
Now, how much he'll play his freshman year of football, who knows? Baseball will probably have a better chance. But their football's working with the interim coach, and we'll see how things play out there. And it's just one of those things, there's exciting times in athletics here at campus that we can look forward to.
Yeah, very well put, Bill. And again, reminder, Biking for Beanzie coming up Sunday, July 12th. You can register even right up to that day, right, Bill?
That's right. Walk in, and you can either cash, check. We even now, in the last couple of years, able to take charge cards or debit cards.
Okay.
And, like I said, it's a well-stocked rest stops with hydration, snacks, anything to help you get through however many miles you decide to go.
And don't worry about your bike maintenance, right? If you think your tire might be going or something, you guys will take care of that for us.
We have one of the bike shops locally will be on site. And, and then with the SAG people that we use that are out on the routes, if they see you, they'll stop and help. But you'll also have access to a phone number to call into the dispatch, and then we can send somebody to help you out.
Okay, and you can even follow yourself on GPS, right, if you want to.
You can, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, things will be set up for that. So, again, like I said, the routes, if you can find last year's routes online, I think they're still up. That's what we're doing on the three short routes.
All right, very good. Again, Biking for Beanzie coming up on Sunday, July 12th. Again, Bill Finucane, former DeKalb alderman. All around good egg. Thank you so much for visiting with us today. We
Good
appreciate
to see you. And real quick, talking with Turkey, November 20, and freezing for food, December 3, 4, 5.
All right, I've already had people ask me about those dates, so that's great. We're looking forward to doing that yet again this year. A big thanks to our sponsor. Big thanks to my nephew, Michael Davis, for getting us on the air. And that's TD Ryan Unleashed News Podcast number 53.